your PGA. Yeah. And so it's
PGA.
like, so we're like, okay, why don't we make a little putt-putt at the booth?
Couple pictures up of the
Yeah, we rendered. That was like a Gemini Nano Banana render. I gave it the booth rendering all purple. I was like, put a little mini golf hole on here with this little thumbs up logo we have right now. We ripped it, sent it off, and they're like, sure, okay. I was convinced they were going to say no.
It ended up working out pretty good, actually.
Yeah. From a traffic perspective, we had a good spot because we were one of the platinum sponsors. And then I would say we had more people pass through. We did the math, like 10 to 20% of all conference attendees came to our booth at some point.
Talking about today.
This is your idea and I liked it. Today we were going to talk about, you and I both last week were at an event in Nashville. We hear a lot in the 996 community, everybody's grinding, heads down, get to work, don't go to events, dinners, don't put yourself out, just focus on building your thing. And that's the conventional Silicon Valley wisdom. There's the joke that the founders that show up at all the events and the conferences are not really working and they're not going to make it. I think the truth is more nuanced. You had the idea we should talk about that on this episode, maybe get into some of the things that we did last week.
Yeah, I like it. I used to go to these networking events and it's the same people
over and over.
And especially ones at a law firm or VC firm, I guess less so VC because it's founder focused, but ones that are general purpose, like alumni groups tied to something that wasn't specifically oriented or even a specific vertical like health, or you're going to something like, oh, this is folks working in network. You end up with a lot of people selling each other. And you're like, wait a minute. You're like, nobody's here to learn. They're all here to pitch their book. The ones that always got me were these networking ones because you would go and it's like, oh, this alumni group. And it was all CPAs, lawyers, real estate people. It was a lot of individual service providers.
You got a bunch of rich donors at an alumni event, right?
Yeah. Those were like, oh, this is cool. You can go back to your school. And then it'd be like, wait, the 3 or 4 people that were there that founded companies are getting swarmed. And a lot of them were trading leads. The real estate person had stuff for the CPA had stuff for the lawyers. Yeah. So that stuff really was tough for me. And then I think the other one that I've struggled with is ones that are like conference where you go to like a really big conference, like a Forest or Oracle, even CES or some of these large ones. And you show up at some company's event or, even Tech Week, we went to a couple events and you show up and it's such a weird smattering of people.
Yeah. It's hard to find people you actually want to talk to.
Yeah. And then ones that are there define infinite time versus I just want to go back and work. Right. And I don't have that draw. It's interesting. I'm sort of an anti-conference, anti-network person in general.
Yeah. But as a marketer, I think they're important.
Yeah.
I think you're describing that opportunity cost issue. We met at an event at CES, went to a Hampton dinner, sat next to each other. You made fun of guys that run agencies. I was like, that's me. And then you're like, you're now my friend. I don't know how we pulled it off, but we're here now because of an event. I've been pushed to go to them. I don't like them either, but I've been pushed because I am a service provider. And so showing up and being present and making connections is my bread and butter. It's how I get new business. In your case, you're building interesting companies right now. It's probably less valuable for you to show up at any event.
Yeah. And so I think the point of this is my perspective changed over the last week where I was like, wow, this is the first time where I went to a conference and, kind of participated deeply, was a sponsor, all these things where it actually was impactful to the company. And then I think the other piece that was interesting is I went to a similar healthcare conference like 2-3 weeks ago, kind of as a warm up and did a much less sort of was lost in the sea of booths. The impact was different. We made a few connections, met a few people, but it's like handfuls of successes versus out of this week in Nashville, a couple hundred connections, very different scale of the output. I think it would be fun to talk through. How did we get there? What did we do? And why did we do what we did?
Yeah, I think that's exactly where we'll go in the context of founder mode. How do you do events in founder mode? How do you not just waste your time and make it a good use of your time as good or better than sitting in the office in front of the laptop grinding?
For sure.
Yeah. Let's get into it. Let me hit you with a question to frame it up. You have this business and you can talk through how much you're wearing the hat. So I don't know if you want to give us like the quick, hey, what is Pretty Good AI? I believe this episode of Founder Mode is sponsored by Pretty Good AI. You bought the sponsorship for this one. Maybe tell us about the business and the hypothesis as to why going to events for this business was important.
The business is healthcare AI. And so it's really focused on sort of removing administrative complexity around healthcare practices and healthcare systems and starting with voice because it's tricky. We all can do real-time discussions, but like doing that with AI is hard. And then we've all used it, like if you answer some questions, you give it some more context, it gets better and better. But that's not a real-time thing. You couldn't have that conversation quickly, especially when there's lots of lookups and information that needs to be gathered, where it's not like you're not infinitely intelligent. We started and had some success with one of our early integrations with Athena, got on their marketplace, and they're like, oh, there's this conference coming up.
The
like,
Athena
hey,
Health, right?
Athena Health is the name of the
And
company.
they're
It's
like electronic medical record practice.
EMR. If you get referred from primary care, or some primary care doctors use this, a lot of outpatient ambulatory services. One of our early customers was on it. We got certified on their marketplace. And then as part of that, we're like, oh, they're having this conference. There's some ways to sort of like market yourself. And I came to you and I was like, dude, what if we just did their conference? Yeah. We have 3 days to decide. It was 3 days before the cutoff. This was about 6 weeks ago at this point. Right. This was going to be in a month. And we're like, I don't know. We literally had a logo from ChatGPT that I had typed in, like, make me a logo. And we put it up, thumb logo. We'll put it on the
screen, but it's a thumbs up logo with pretty good AI next to it. The logo on your hat is cooler than that.
The new logo.
Reminiscent of Pac-Man. It's got some interesting blocks. Feels good.
Yeah. Forced us to come up with a new brand logo, build merch, tons of sales collateral. We did a webinar, a bunch of things to get to this point. You don't want to just show up to the conference and be like, hey, it's me and a laptop.
Which is what you had done a few weeks prior. You knew it wasn't going to be the thing for this one.
Yeah. So we had the practice at this healthcare conference called Health in Vegas a couple weeks before. And that one, we did just show up literally with a laptop and a name. And it was kind of crickets. And then we met a few people that were interesting, learned a lot, but it was also learned like what not to do.
Well, and then you, at that conference, you had the ability to get meetings with people, but there was a twist to like how to get those meetings, right?
They had this networking kind of market connect, they call it, where you literally pay, I think it was $300 to $700 per meeting for a 15-minute meeting, which is insane. But like you're meeting with the top people from these organizations and big health systems. I did some of them and it was great to meet these people, but it was very quick, very forced. They're exhausted because they're taking all these meetings. I was like, why are they taking all these meetings? Are they getting the money? And so you know, doesn't take much to, look into the model. They get a free ticket if they take 8 meetings. And if they take 12 meetings, they get $750 for travel credit.
They go for free.
They're like, hey, I have to suffer through 2 hours, right? So 8 15-minute slots of meetings to go to the show and defer the cost of going to Vegas.
They don't give money for the slots.
No, they don't get money.
No,
I give the money. The show takes, and then
they're not like, if you do 30 meetings, we'll give you $1,000 to play slots at Caesars.
No, that would be crazy if you could have the person just sitting there for 8 hours.
Take the meetings.
So made some good connections and have some follow-ups working. I think the model was two-way, like, sort of like speed dating. They had to opt in, but it wasn't as natural of a selection of interesting people where they're just walking up and actually interested in learning about what you're doing. It felt more like speaking into this paid machine.
Yeah. So a couple of weeks later, you're in Nashville and it's like, we're actually doing this. Right. We think being physically present at conferences, it's healthcare, like it's a little bit old school, like it's important to face-to-face. It's not going to just happen because you do webinars and digital events to get people in, right? Like there's a component that you guys felt pretty strongly would be real world. Like once you guys decided, hey, we're going to go do this, what was let's talk about the ideation process. What's the goal? How do we show up in a way that's going to move the needle for the business? We're investing a lot of money. We're not just going to do like the laptop with the little logo and like one person standing at the crappy little booth. Like we're going to do the big thing. Yeah. So talk to me about, what was going in, like, what were the things you're like, we have to do this, we have to learn this or achieve this so it's worth the time and money?
Yeah. So I think for us, teams around 10 people, and it's kind of remote hybrid. We meet periodically, but never all in the same room together. And so we're like, okay, so if we're going to fly the entire team from everywhere they are all to Nashville for 3 or 4 days, that's like a pretty big expense on its own, just hotels and airfare and food. And then you're like, okay, so then that's like, call that $100,000.
Yeah.
In some version of that. We also should make sure we don't just show up and not have anything organized. So we should do some brand work, some sales collateral, make some decks.
There's somebody,
So your company, Winston Francois, was
also a sponsor of this episode of Founder Mode.
Very rigorous RFP process to get this done.
Zero bidders.
No, we can't do this in a month. This is not how you do a full rebrand a company, build all sales collateral.
Don't worry about it. It'll be fine.
Let's do it. So we were like, if we're going to do that, let's not have a booth in the back with one chair. what's the way to get out front? There was a debate, should we get the biggest booth or the smallest? And I was like, hey, there's this platinum sponsor thing. It's like 60 grand. And it's like, that's expensive because it's like bootstrap company. We're literally paying for it ourselves.
Like Google is one of the platinum sponsors.
Right. Google was the other platinum sponsor. And there was like 6 others or something.
Yeah, like a few.
Very few out of the hundreds that were there. Why don't we take one of those spots? We'll get the biggest booth, be in the email, our picture of Google all the time. Kind of ridiculous. The company's less than a year old and we're making that bet, but also like at least have the whole team have a cool place to stand and hang out. And like at the very least, it's a good all hands meeting for 2-3 days sitting together.
Yeah.
You pushed us to do something which made the conference people uneasy,
which
was their view like, hey,
everything
should be the same. Purple.
Every booth is the same. There's a table with 4 chairs, a counter, your logo, and a screen. That's your real estate to do something different.
And a tagline.
52 characters.
52 character tagline. I didn't get the words right.
There were some that were 3 lines and more than 52. They didn't follow their own rules.
They clipped, yeah. So the idea was that was going to be tricky. And we're like, let's do something cooler. And they're like, no, they're going to do prize wheels. We talked to other customers that had been to this conference. They're like, oh, there's a prize wheel. You should give out like snacks.
The booth across gave out free cookies.
Yeah. And you were like, pretty good AI.
You guys call yourself something internally that I really liked.
Yeah, everybody called us
pretty
PGA.
Good AI. PGA means something else to a lot of people. And a lot of people in healthcare and just business people in general like to golf. So we're like, okay, why don't we make a little putt-putt at the booth? Let's see if we can get these guys that want every booth to look the same. We're a platinum sponsor. Do you think we could do like a putt-putt hole?
And we got to throw a couple pictures up of the...
We rendered like a Gemini Nano Banana render. I gave it the booth rendering all purple. I was like, put a little mini golf hole on here with this little thumbs up logo we have right now. We ripped it, sent it off, and they're like, sure. I was convinced they were going to say no.
It ended up working. Yeah, incredible. Pretty good.
Yeah, from a traffic perspective, we had a good spot because we were one of the platinum sponsors. And then I would say we had more people pass through. We did the math, like 10 to 20% of all conference attendees came to our booth.
Well, not just scanned it, like actually
scanned their badge. So going back to my question, what's the goal? To build relationships, get new business, grow the business, get new customers. You've already integrated with this platform, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And I think the idea was cool because many people were activated by different things. They were like, wow. A lot of people were like, oh, that's golf. That's fun. I just want to play golf.
Great.
And the actual best response was other sponsors and booths. Who are you guys? Why are you in front?
Yeah.
The one guy said, I've been coming to this for 10 years, building this company, and I've never heard of you. And like, why are you ahead creating this splash? And I think that's, in retrospect, reinforced all the decisions we made. As big as you can,
go bigger.
Given the time we're going to have, the investment wasn't an extra 10 or 20 grand for this level of sponsorship. It was 10% of what we're going to spend to send the entire team and take a week off work. Because we're not all going to, very few code, we had some code get written that week, but not as much as a typical week. So I think that investment in sacrificing the team's time was well spent. We rented out Putt Shack, a local mini golf, and threw a big party for people to come over, leaning into the theme, resonated around this idea. Great for our team to get together, but it was like this incredible way to integrate and interact with a bunch of people that are our target customers and introduce them to the brand for the first time. Something different here, not just about what they're building and how they're taking it to market, but also the fact that they're willing to show up and the entire team was, right?
I'll give you credit because I pushed pretty hard on you and your partner, JJ, to like, hey, I don't know if you guys should be investing this much. I'm not sure you're going to get the ROI. It seems like, especially the amount of time we have, and you guys are like, no, we want to show up in this meaningful way. And to your point, like the same person saying, we've been doing this 10 years, came up to me and said something like, okay, did you guys have a funding round you're going to announce? Like, what's going on here? Like, there's all these people, you guys are a platinum sponsor. And it was kind of fun to be like, yeah, we're legit. For me, it brought up stuff from my time at Google. I remembered going to Mobile World Congress for the first time. Google spent single-digit millions of dollars that first year for the Android marketing team. And we showed up and we had this incredible booth. It had a giant Android with a slide giving out figurines. And the Android team crushed it. And I was excited to be there. They gave out these little pins. And everybody who was an Android partner, which is everybody in mobile, even in 2011, that was just like everybody, got these pins. And so the conference attendees were running around trying to collect every pin to come back to the Android booth and show us, gamified the whole thing. That experience 15 years ago cemented my perspective. If you're going to do something like this, and it's funny because I told you, don't go big. And like, turns out you're right. And like now you know the word activation and you're kind of like this burgeoning marketer. I'm really proud of you. Truthfully, it worked so well. And we did kind of hijack so many aspects of the event and position the brand so well to be like the cool thing to do at the conference. And then on top of the through line of golf and everything, we gave out these golf balls. We had these really nice golf kits that we gave to prospects with the sponsorship that you guys decided to get, the Max sponsorship, this meeting pod. So we had this whole flow that we developed during the show. We're walking people over and they would get the demo in a private room. We had a big monitor on the wall. It was all those little details. And this is the thing that I would say for folks listening, like if you're a founder, you don't really know how to do events. Like the details actually matter a lot. Yeah. If you can put nice touches at every piece of the way that you show up, at every surface, at every interaction, it just makes it look so much stronger relative to everybody else.
It was cool. We made a joke a couple of times, like, can we just borrow the meeting pods from the other sponsors? Because they weren't using them. They weren't getting them. In fact, there was some of the sponsors there, an interesting, ways to get people to interact. They were paying. The first day we showed up, it was like, hey, $50 Amazon gift card if you take a demo.
Yeah.
And then
day two, what happened?
Day two, $100 went up. And I was like, look, man, I'm talking to my wife. If this goes to 200,
you're taking the meeting because could be good.
I want to clean my Amazon wish list.
Yeah.
I'm going to wipe my wish list with a couple demos. But it was interesting because there's this sense of desperation. And these were companies that have been doing this for a long time of like, man, we're do whatever it takes. And I think the other thing that resonated was we're month to month. If you don't love the software, don't buy it. Everybody's trying to figure out these free trials to get them into long-term contracts. And we're like, we don't want to do long-term contracts. And I think there was some interesting sort of viewpoints from that. And I think the other sort of fun, sort of competitive anecdote is there was a couple companies there that had raised tens of millions and
big money,
and over 100 million.
Yeah.
A lot of younger team members, mostly under 30, were frustrated because they had built an espresso bar in the back and they weren't
getting the kind of foot traffic.
They didn't get the same foot traffic. You've raised $100 million.
Yeah.
And you couldn't spend the difference in the booth they had versus being a platinum sponsor was at most 20 grand where they were, and spent on a coffee bar and other things. They had more than 10 people. So they'd probably invested, again, unless they're all living in Nashville, which I doubt they are, $100 grand to get everybody there.
My favorite thing was they were standing outside of the Pretty Good AI booth.
Came back. They ended up standing at our booth because it was easier to get traffic and hand out a business card or a flyer and walk people back to their booth. We gave them a few demos, let a couple play golf. I got pictures of their reps playing golf with us. You just wonder, like, if you've done this before and you're like, hey, what forest for the trees? Like, what are you? You have all this cash to spend, but you're still not allocating it correctly if you want to make a big impact there.
Yeah, I think the way you approach everything is this founder mode mentality and tech growth mentality, which is like, if we're going to do something, we're going to do it. It doesn't have to be perfect, like 80% solution, but we're going to go hard and try to max the results. I think what you're illuminating is this issue where, it's this boil the ocean strategy. We can go to this conference, sponsor there, and send the B team or the C team and hopefully get a few leads. The net effect is it doesn't work well, and you've spent enough money where it's kind of a waste. And so it's this like focused big push that's like actually the outcome then justifies that investment much more. And so the other thing I wanted to touch on that I noticed just how you operate, Kevin, you have a newsletter and a podcast called Founder Mode, is that there's this like first in, last out, like if I'm going to go do something, I'm going to do it harder and like work harder than anybody else there. And you've got people on your team half your age or younger who could grind harder, but they just don't. So like, help me understand, like when you think about, okay, I'm in Nashville, I'm doing this thing, we've invested a lot of money. How do you manage your time to bring that founder mode intensity to a conference?
Yeah, I had my 3 best workouts during the 3 days of the conference. So got up early, went to work out. There's a picture on, I don't know, LinkedIn or Twitter. So I learned that my voice gets crushed at these things so much and loud over the crowd. I talk a lot, but conferences push it. I lost my voice a year ago. And I, just from talking too much, and I was chat GPT, hey, how do I fix it? It's like, I'm like, there's a Starbucks downstairs. What's the perfect order? And they're like, order a medicine ball. And I was like, a what? It's basically honey citrus, mint citrus tea with honey and steamed lemonade. I drank 4 of them that day and it brought my voice back. At the conference, first day, venti medicine ball and then a venti Americano, black, caffeine rip and medicine ball every day to set the voice and then get the workout done and a breakfast in the hotel. Or I could walk to the conference early and see who else is early, have breakfast, go to over tables, chat with people. And because I was like, look, if you're going to sit in the hotel and read my phone and read Reddit or check the news or skim emails, I could do that anywhere. Why don't I go do that where there's a chance of running into somebody? And the other thing people miss is a lot of times they're like, oh, you're just being a sale. Honestly, half the time I sat at the table, I didn't sell a thing. I just listened to the conversation. because it was interesting. Little pods of teams, 2s and 3s, would be sitting at these tables and just hearing the things they're frustrated, or what are they talking about? They're like, oh, Jimmy didn't get this done. Bill's got to get this. It's tough with this team. You're learning the challenge. They haven't been together either. They're getting their chance to bond. The problems they were debating about a new rule change in policy and their IT team and how they were going to roll that out to the forms that were on the website and how they were going to roll those out from PDFs to fillable forms. And that didn't get routed the same. And you're like, man, this would never be a debate at a technology company.
Right.
You would just tell the person to do it that way. Yeah. But you can feel the pain of healthcare doesn't have natively technology-centric people. My point is these things inform your founders of like, hey, you need to remember when you're selling to people, like I can't just be like, hey, go do this thing. You're like, so now we literally introduce with like, let us get our sort of technology person to meet with your IT person or your vendor or whatever, and take that burden off of them because they don't speak tech, don't know what to ask for. It's hard for them to communicate if it's not their natural language. And the teams they're working with are not the like cracked engineers from Google and Facebook.
Right.
They're the local IT person helping the realtor and the CPA, and they're just working for an hour a week to help this healthcare company in town.
Yeah.
I like if I'm going to do something, I like to do it all in. I would get there early, take a picture and send it to people. Like
the conference was open until 7:30 p.m. You noticed something about some of the other booths.
Yeah.
Right?
No, I get it, man. I was at that conference 2 weeks ago in Vegas where nobody's really coming by. It's kind of dead. What do you do? And then the conference is dwindling. They left.
Yeah.
And so there was booths, again, companies that had raised millions, tens of millions, and hundreds of millions.
Unmanned.
The booth was empty an hour, 2 hours before the show ended.
Yeah. The
exhibit hall ended. And it's like, man, they're tired.
Yeah.
They're not acting like owners. This is the part that hurts me the most is that like, you know, they probably like they're a big enough company. They probably have some shares, but they're not material in their thinking.
Yeah.
And the ownership level they exhibited in those points was like so low that you're like kind of tarnishes the brand. You're like, your booth is empty. You're seeing the Windows loading machine on their demo. Like that's just nobody's home. And you've got, 50, 60, 70 employees and you can't get 2 people to cover a shift. I made fun about you guys. Your team was setting me up with this spreadsheet of like what X and what E and what shifts. And I'm like, I don't have a problem. We're going to have so many people for most of the points. Many because the team
was very funny. Every other conference, every event I've produced, it was like pulling teeth to get people to staff the booth.
Yeah.
The exact opposite with your team. Literally 10 people or whatever it was, all wanted to be at the booth the whole time. Wanted to talk to customers, wanted to talk to other vendors, wanted to learn, super engaged, acting like owners, so different. Right. Yeah. And I think that is part of like, who's going to make it, who's not going to make it.
It's a culture difference, right? And these are engineers that don't go to conferences at all, let alone even leave their...
And yet they're doing demos and selling the product.
The level of, you always talk about build something or work in a space you understand the user, become the user, all that stuff. AJ and I were talking with you afterwards and saying, even if we got 0 leads,
there was a lot.
The connection we got as a team, but also understanding the landscape. And I would tell people, if your company's more than 2 years old and they're saying they're native AI, they're lying. They've all rebranded to AI something, and the company's 10, 12, 15, 20 years old saying they're native AI. I would ask a simple question to whoever was in the booth, like, what model do you guys use or what's the AI?
And Amazon?
One guy literally told me, he's a CEO company, he's like, I think we use Amazon. And I was like, you don't know what your AI stack is? And like,
what's your frontier model?
And you're just like, or they're embarrassed to share, but it's just like, man, I told other guys, I'm like, here's exactly our stack. Here's exactly how we built it. It's not about the tools. We're all using, like the best teams are all using the best tools. And it's about, can you put it together? Can you execute it? It was shocking to see the teams you're competing against, but also understand you never want to get into that case where when you do get larger and an older company that you've kind of lost touch with like technology, or you've lost touch with the customers.
Yeah.
And you've lost touch with this ability to have like everyone on the team feel and act like owners.
Yeah, I think that's right. I got to watch your team get it. Day 1 was like, okay, figuring it out. And day 2, everybody was like, I want to give the demo. Take that meeting. I want to sit in while Kevin's doing the demo. There was an energy that was palpable. I guess the last thing I wanted to get from you, because this is not something you normally do, what were the big things you learned from showing up like this? Those big takeaways from the few days in Nashville. For other founders out there, what is non-negotiable if you're going to go to an event? What do you do? What do you think is like the big kind of learnings for the PGA team?
I made fun of you guys about the logo and I thought my ChatGPT logo was good. And I do think that like, it's funny because booths next to us clearly had like cartoonish looking logos that were not brands. And I think it's something that I've thought a lot more about recently is that like Pretty Good AI doesn't even say healthcare in it. It doesn't say like what we're doing. Like it's a very like global and sort of scalable sort of mark where you're like, hey, this thing could be applicable to like Pretty Good AI for lawnmowers or Pretty Good AI for this. And I think while initially that bothered me because I was like, wait, no, we're working on healthcare, we're working this thing. No, when we got into talking to people, we're like, what is it that you guys do? And we're like, no, we can apply AI to a lot of these aspects of this thing where I think other companies like they put their feature name or initial customer in the name of the company or brand. One thing where I underappreciated the impact of that. And then the flexibility to be able to let the brand go where the business is. I think the other piece was doing the pre-work, sending emails, reaching out. We had many meetings booked before we showed up in Nashville. We had communicated, run webinars. We had started to kind of pre-market to the audience of the conference. So when they got there, they're like, oh, I heard of you, or I saw that email, or I missed your webinar, or I made it, or whatever. But they had some connection of like, oh, I kind of know what you guys do. And then when we were there, I think having a systematic capturing the steps, you came up with this analogy of PGAI, right?
Play golf, get a demo, attend the Putt Shack party, input lead. That was the quick framework for the team.
It was simple, right? Because it was 4 things. You want to get people to engage with the golf, have fun, make that the first thing, and then get the demo. Let's show God, right? Yeah. Invite you to our cool event. Then it was like wrap all that up and put it into the lead scanner. Now we've got this spreadsheet with hundreds of leads that we need, hey, who talked to like the 13th person on the 3rd day? Nobody remember. So like having this tracked out. And then now I think the part that, we're sort of in right now is this like, okay, you've got all of this data, how to organize your follow-up and sort of understand what's the best action for each lead and then executing on that. And again, the pre-work of sort of building the brand, the sales collateral and the marketing, it's like, oh, some people just want to have to share with their boss.
PDF. Yeah.
Other people want the 9-page slide deck to educate their team, right? So, and being able to have those different assets. Other people are like, hey, send me the live link. That was the other thing. It's crazy, man. Like tons of companies are like, great, show me the demo. You're doing voice AI. Can I call the number? No number to call.
Yeah.
And so we're like, here's the number. Here's the phone. You can put it on your phone and call right now. That, again, kind of holistic view of being able to not just like show me, tell me kind of the whole piece, let people experience it for themselves ended up being very powerful. Going to that smaller event or having a smaller activation at the larger event taught us a bunch of things of like, oh, it's going to be noisy in the background. We need to turn off all the foreign language stuff because it may detect other languages because of background. Or, hey, simplify the form, take away extra validations, make it easy. People have 30 seconds. They may or may not engage. If they hit any kind of friction, they're going to bounce.
Yep.
So just practicing all that now after the fact, being able to say, do we have the proper stuff set up? In our case, HubSpot to track all these folks. How did we meet them? Multi-touch. There was 2 of the kind of most high quality or high impact leads that we have or most engaged leads. We had actually touched them. I had sent LinkedIn requests to them more than 2 months ago.
Yeah.
They went to connect on LinkedIn. They're like, oh, we're already connected.
Marketing is reach and frequency.
But they were like, wow, what's your email? Now they were like, oh, great. We've got meetings booked to set up and talk through it. And so it was like this kind of multi-step thing of like, hey, you've touched them.
Don't meet them for the first time. Be out there.
And they're like, hey, they already had some familiarity, but they're like, wait, this was you guys putting those pieces together and that locked in and solidified it. This isn't just a random serendipitous thing. And then we had like our customers that were also at the show and it showed up in a big presence because we were like, hey, we want you to come, we want to bring you to the event. They were out there making referrals and it was really easy for customers. Yeah, you already know X. There was a lot of really good reconnecting to solidify that. Don't let me tell you about my product. Let our customers tell you about their experience, both good and bad, and let them judge.
Yeah. Thumbs up, pretty good or not good events. As a founder, is it good or not good to show up and be present at experiential opportunities where you can get your brand out there?
I think it's really good. It's pretty good. I think the other thing I would close with is picking the right event where the density of people you want to meet is high. There's tons of events out there. For us, finding an event where our technology supports 100% of the people attending from a customer perspective.
ICP
obviously works better for bigger customers than smaller ones and more impactful for both of us to work together. The idea that we had 100% coverage is unique. but being able to size that in correctly. If we go to other events, being able to identify the best way to show up so you get in front of the customers that you can serve today or the ones that you can serve within the next 6 months. Like I think in cases where you show up and you're like, maybe I can get to this customer in the next 1 to 2 years, might not be the right timing.
Right.
Even in a slow moving industry, you're not going to get their attention. You're not going to want to spend the time with them. So I think it is like, can you get to a pilot in a couple of weeks? That's the ones you really want to hard circle. And again, in healthcare, a lot has to happen in person.
Kevin, that was super fun. I always enjoy our one-on-one episodes. Can you give us kind of your top 5 from this conversation today, things that anyone listening needs to remember and take away?
Treat events as high leverage, not distractions, but you need to operate those very intentionally. Second, go all in on targeted conferences, right? Bold activations, outperform kind of a scattershot approach and really focus on ones that hit your sort of ICP. And then prepare and follow through, right? Pre-marketing, structured capture, and then have a way of immediately following up and tracking that. Fourth, founder presence, right? You want to be there, compels that ownership, first in, last out every day, how to sort of be immersed in what's going on. Clear your schedule to do that. And then really for us, it was thinking about the ROI beyond leads, rebranding, collateral, insights from the industry and competitors, and team alignment.
Hey, if you got somebody that who's thinking about doing events, they're a founder, they're building, they're maybe heads down, and you want to help them pull up and think about how they can show up in the real world, share this episode with them, give us a like, subscribe, a follow, and leave a comment. Appreciate you tuning in today.
And first of all, Jason, thank you. You and your team really over-delivered for what we did here last week at the conference. Super grateful. That's all for today. Founder-motivated events means this. Don't just attend, act it.